I'm Professor Allworth. We're going to be talking to some students today who are the recipients of Allworth Fund scholarships in the STEM fields. These students are incredible. Will Sterling, hello.
Hello.
I'm Professor Allworth.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Thank you for being here today.
Anytime.
We're going to talk about a lot of things, but let's start with kind of the very basic information about where you went to high school, what got you going.
Sure.
So let's start there.
Yeah, so I am from a little town in northern Minnesota, in Barris, and I went to high school in Virginia, Minnesota, so Virginia Public High School. I spent most of my time there thinking I'd go to be an engineer, and then tried a year of engineering school and decided it wasn't really for me. So this fall I'll be pursuing a degree in computer science.
So you decided to, you went to college and you started to pursue engineering.
Yes.
Well, talk about what transformed there.
Sure. So I spent my first semester went very smooth. I showed up, I went to the classes, met my classmates, and had a great time. And then we had to transfer to online teaching because of COVID, and that was very difficult. But I think the college did a good job of making the transition smooth. But then it was really just me and the curriculum. There wasn't very much other interaction going on. And so that's kind of what made me change my opinion on engineering. I've always been relatively good at math and science in high school. And so I thought, oh, a degree in math and science, that'd be good. But it wasn't until that about halfway through that second semester that I realized that, yeah, I'm okay with doing math and science, but I need to have a reason behind it. Otherwise, it's just checking boxes.
Well, that's interesting because it kind of sounds like had school not been interrupted in the form that it was.
I think I would have reached the same conclusion eventually, but it would have taken me a lot longer. And so I think I got lucky in that regard, where I actually think I got something out of this that I wouldn't have gotten normally.
Interesting. And your major area of study will be?
Computer science.
Computer science.
It'll be computer science with a focus on game design, where about 40% of the classes are in game design. The other 60% is programming and how to implement AI in your programming. And that aspect of it was definitely more interesting to me. So that's why I went the computer science route. Everyone has a goal that might take them 20 or 30 years to achieve, but I wanted something that in the next 5 or 7 years I could go do. So my goal was to make a game. And I came to that because of the things I do in my free time. So I figured, hey, I have some experience in math and science, and I have an aptitude. So if I did go into computer science and get a degree, working with computers, that I could use that to further my own goals of I could make interactive experiences for people. So that kind of pointed me at game design.
Well, and now when you applied for the Allworth Scholarship, did you think your focus was going to be engineering at that time?
I did. I did think it was going to be engineering, and I knew that whatever I was going to do would be in math and science.
And of course, you received the scholarship.
Yes.
And it did help you financially, but then you ended up kind of switching games, but here you are.
Yeah, and I think that was the beauty of it. Was I was really worried when I first decided to switch. I was like, oh, is a scholarship, are they gonna be okay with this? Like, are there channels for this? And the Allworth was super supportive. I sent multiple emails, we had a great correspondence, and I sent them different course descriptions, and they'd review them and say, yep, well, if you take these extra classes, then you should be able to make it work. And they were very helpful and very supportive, and I felt really lucky to get to be a part of that.
So, you've talked a lot about how the gaming is very much your passion, but if you look at the other side of what computer development can do, let's talk about the more humanitarian, the more
Sure.
medical, the more...
So you have obviously the medical aspect of things, where you have games that allow doctors and the scientific community to prescribe a test without making it obvious. So when you're taking a test, like a written test, you're aware that you're being tested. but oftentimes with the game, that's not the case. You can have a lot of things going on in the background that aren't obvious to the user. And so if you have a game where you're driving down a road and you're turning one way and you have to dodge obstacles, people can use the data from that to make a lot of speculations about the user. So I can see institutions and the scientific community using games in a much more prevalent way than they have been.
So there's, looking down the road, the world is changing rapidly. And you mentioned earlier, VR and...
We've been slowly making this transition from pre-digital to a digital world where everyone has a smartphone. And I think the next step in that journey is definitely virtual reality and then augmented reality, VR and AR. So VR is the headset you put on and you get to be in a virtual world that someone's programmed. And then AR is like a pair of glasses you'd put on that then lets you see digital things in the real world. And I think both of those are avenues of future improvement. Those are things that are going to be implemented in our lives eventually. And so I think game design or interactive media is a degree that really puts you at the forefront of that progression.
I know that when I think of game design, but I pretty much think of a computer game on a desktop,
Yes.
where people, but it's a great deal more than that.
Yeah, there's a surprising breadth to the applications.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered here?
I think as a final closing statement, I'd like to just say that, your path isn't always, it's not always set. There's always options to go do something else. And I think that's something that a lot of us know, but it takes a while to internalize that. And so I think that's my parting message is you really do have a lot of freedom in your life.
Well, and with the Allworth Scholarship,
Especially.
you were given the flexibility to make
It really
that
was.
shift.
And my future would not be the same without it. That opportunity has given me a lot of freedom.